remember me.
Inside the History Channel's newest miniseries.
We're telling a story that people live by.
Based on the best-selling book of all time. We sit down with producers Mark Burnett and Roma Downey.
It's human, it's connective, it's beautiful.
And they tell us how they brought the Bible to life. Today on the 700 Club.
The project was made to glorify God.
Well, welcome to the 700 Club. And ladies and gentlemen, according to the White House, today the planes would fall from the airs. Mars would come closer to Earth. The Martians would land and begin their attack. Dread disease would spread throughout the land. Millions of babies would die. The country would be overrun by illegal aliens. Crime would be on the increase.
And here we all are.
And none of it happened. None of it happened. And the media is laughing now at the president for overstating this stuff. And, of course, you know, this is just the first day. We'll see what happens.
That's right.
But they're earnestly hoping the sky will fall.
Something dreadful
All right.
will come to pass.
I'm starting this program. Yesterday, we had an alligator on this program, a featured alligator. And you petted the alligator.
I did pet the alligator.
Do you want to pet alligator?
No. I don't.
The Gator Boy, wonderful guy.
Yes.
Well, I want to show you my pet. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. I have a pet. He's a 17 three-hand horse. His name is Ufano. If I could have a camera, this is my pet.
Wow, look at him.
Isn't he beautiful?
He is grand, isn't he?
17 three hands from Portugal. And here's another picture of my pet. This is not an alligator. This is a Portuguese horse.
He is beautiful. How old is he?
He's about 11. He's a Lusitano.
Wow.
And he's a 4th level dressage horse.
I know you love riding him.
I love him.
Yes, he's
so gentle and so nice. And I was doing some trick things with him yesterday, and he's just so obedient. But look at him one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, if that doesn't make you want to trade in your alligator.
Or at least keep him away from the barn, right?
Terry will accept all used alligators in favor.
No, you don't.
Okay.
No. Do not send those back.
Here's Terry. What's next?
Well, as Pat mentioned earlier, President Obama has been warning of terrible consequences if these cuts that they've been talking about took place. Some called it just scare tactics, and others say if you really want to cut government spending, there are plenty of places to look. Ephraim Graham has the story.
For weeks now, Obama administration officials have warned federal spending cuts would spell disaster, like airport security.
You're going to see those lines really grow.
Education Secretary Arne Duncan claimed teachers were already getting fired.
These are teachers who are getting pink slips now.
Of course, the Washington Post found that to be wrong, and Duncan softened his wording.
Tens of thousands of teachers will potentially lose their jobs.
And the president's been leading the pack, playing the fear card across the country.
This is going to be a big hit on the economy.
But many conservatives say the White House is overstating the case.
We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. And it's time to get serious about it.
Nothing's going to happen, and that's Obama's biggest fear, because America's going to wake up and notice no difference in the cuts. So now he's saying, well, it might take a month before you notice. He's buying time because he knows the cuts are probably going to go into effect, and no one is going to notice.
And critics say if Washington really wants to cut spending, there are plenty of places to do it. A study by the General Accounting Office in 2011 found Washington wastes between $100 and $200 billion because so many programs have been set up that are really basically doing the same thing from different parts of the government. Cutting could help trim this kind of waste. Multiple agencies that oversee food safety, 20 programs to help the homeless, and 80 programs to oversee economic development. The Conservative Heritage Foundation has found numerous examples of government waste as well, such as spending nearly $1.7 billion in 2010 to maintain 77,000 underused or unused buildings. The failed solar cell manufacturing company Solyndra cost $528 million. Officials from the Department of Agriculture and Energy approving a $76 million grant for a wood-to-ethanol plant in Georgia, despite concerns about it. The plant closed in a year without producing any ethanol. The Department of Agriculture spent $2 million on an intern program that hired only one full-time intern. And the Environmental Protection Agency awarded a grant of $141,000 to fund a Chinese study on swine manure. Seton Motley says all that money Washington borrows to pay for wasteful spending hurts the economy.
Every penny the government borrows is a penny the private sector can't borrow to grow businesses, hire people, add jobs.
The $85 billion in cuts go into effect at midnight tonight. Congress has already gone home for the weekend, but its leaders are meeting at the White House today. And officials say the president is still hopeful something can be worked out. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Oh, thanks, Ephraim. It's incredible. But he keeps saying in order to get a balanced approach, you got to raise taxes, and the Republicans are holding firm. And if they hold firm, their base will be with them. If they break on this one, they've got a problem. Well, another Washington media figure says he was threatened by the Obama administration. And this particular gentleman happened to be a key player in the previous Democratic administration. Wendy Griffith has that story from the CBN newsroom. Wendy.
That's right, Pat. Lanny Davis says the administration put pressure on the Washington Times to stop running his columns. Davis is a longtime supporter of former President Bill Clinton and an Obama supporter, but apparently something he wrote upset the White House. He told Washington radio station WMAL that an Obama official once contacted an editor at the Times. He says the official told the editor, quote, that if he continued to run my columns, he would lose, or his reporters would lose, their White House credentials. Davis says he didn't know why the call was made, and earlier this week, Bob Woodward said an Obama official criticized him for his reporting on the president's role in the sequester crisis. President Obama wants the Supreme Court to overturn California's ban on same-sex marriage. The administration submitted a brief Thursday against Proposition 8, a measure that was approved by California voters. Obama personally signed off on the move, marking the first time a U.S. president has urged the High Court to expand the right of gays and lesbians to wed. The president announced before the election last year that he now supports same-sex marriage. In 2008, he opposed it. The president called his change in views a, quote, evolution.
Marriage is between a man and a woman. You know, my feelings about this are constantly evolving. I struggle with this. I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
Our journey is not complete until our gay brothers and sisters are treated like anyone else under the law.
The president said last year he believed the issue should be left up to the states to decide. Now, the Supreme Court could decide whether to redefine marriage for many of those states. Chicago Public Schools plan to start teaching children sex education in kindergarten. The Chicago Board of Education passed the new policy Wednesday. It mandates a set amount of time be spent on sex ed in every grade. Most public schools begin teaching sex ed in 5th grade. Under the new policy, kindergartners will learn about basic anatomy, reproduction, healthy relationships, and personal safety. Chicago has the 3rd largest public school system in the country. Parents will be allowed to opt their child out of the sex ed program. Pat, is kindergarten too early to talk about the birds and the bees?
Are you kidding? Those little children don't have a clue, and they shouldn't be forced to. I mean, it's like trying to open a rosebud before it's ready. You just leave it alone and let the natural processes take. But they're too young. This is absurd. This is absolutely absurd. But here you've got one of the failing school districts in the United States. I understand there's something in excess of 60% of all the Chicago teachers send their children to private schools because they don't want them to be exposed to the failing school system up there. And to add this, I mean, why don't you teach them about how to read and write and count and do computers instead of getting to sex education? Who needs it at that age? It's just horrible. But that's just one more of the liberal initiatives to force their point of view. You see, we believe in America in freedom, in free choice, free enterprise, freedom. But the liberals, the progressives so-called, they want to enforce their point of view, and they want to have people in lockstep accepting what they want, and if people won't accept it, the Russians were willing to put them in gulags, the Chinese have been willing to put them in prisons. And here in America, the liberals think they've got them in school, and they want to indoctrinate them and force them into a mindset that is contrary to what their parents believe. Wendy.
Well, here's some good news, Pat. Housing sales are picking up, and the lowest mortgage rates in decades are a key reason why. Those rates are close to their all-time lows. The average rate on a 30-year mortgage stands at 3.51%. That's close to the record of 3.31% set last November. The ultra-low rates have also encouraged many people to refinance, and that often leads to lower monthly payments and more spending money. Well, in 1960, the movie Exodus told millions around the world about the birth of the Jewish state. The film had a powerful musical score, but it didn't have any words until a young Pat Boone came up with the lyrics. As Chris Mitchell tells us, those words now have a permanent home in Israel.
Exodus. Exodus hit the screens in 1960 with a star-studded cast including a young Paul Newman. Its Academy Award-winning score contained no words because no one's lyrics could satisfy the composer, director, and publisher. That is, until Christmas 1961.
I put the needle on the record, and I hear boom, 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 boom. And the words, "This land is mine," came into my mind, and I thought, that's the story. That's the whole story of Exodus. Wait a minute.
Boone picked up the nearest thing he could find, a Christmas card, and began to write.
The first words are, "This land is mine." And by the time I got those words written, the next words came, "God gave this land to me."
The words of Exodus spread throughout Israel and gave hope to young boys like Shaya ben Yehuda, the son of Holocaust survivors.
We grew up very much in a feeling that during the Holocaust our people were abandoned. But listening to this song and understanding that we are not alone anymore, that was something that was very special for me.
Years later, Ben Yehuda became International Relations Director at Yad Vashem, Israel's renowned Holocaust memorial. He asked Boone for a copy of the words to Exodus. Boone went a step further, giving Yad Vashem the original.
Connecting those words with the story of the survivors who came and built this country despite of what happened to them, and have these words here in Yad Vashem, I think it's something that will give a message to future generations.
For Boone, the moment was profound.
To me, this is one of the 2 or 3 moments in my life I consider the reason that I'm alive. And I think God's purpose for me to be here on the earth.
The Christmas card will become part of Yad Vashem's permanent collection. During the ceremony, organizers played a version of Exodus, sung by Boone years ago at Masada.
This land is mine. God gave this land to me. This land is mine.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Yad Vashem, Jerusalem.
Wow, incredible story, Pat, and incredible movie.
It was a great movie. I tell you, it brings tears to your eyes. Pat's a dear friend. He's a wonderful guy, and what a tribute. He's well deserved, and that could become the theme song of Israel. Probably, in a sense, it has. This land is mine. God gave this land to me. It just came to him. That was inspired by the Lord. And,
yes, it was.
It's a beautifully
done.
Yeah.
Beautifully done. Well, up next, children who are being sold and traded for sex in broad daylight.
They come in the car. They ask how much it is. I tell them, and they say if they want me, and if they want me, they take me.
The battle to beat child sex trafficking in Brazil after this.
Yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil.
You are God. has abandoned you.
Oh, my friends, your faith will be tested now.
Everyone has their price.
What you think the Messiah is coming?
He's already here.
Critics are cheering for America's #1 family comedy.
Yeah, baby!
It's funny and heartwarming.
Awesome!
The perfect family film.
Called a brain freeze. You need to learn to sell.
Escape from Planet Earth, rated PG.
Monday.
You just cannot survive for long up there.
Running out of oxygen.
I just take these deep breaths of this thin air. Just nothing coming in.
And going blind.
It's just burning. My eyes are burning. I can't see anything. If I look out, it's just bright white.
One climber is stranded alone on the highest mountain in the world.
I yelled out, I'm like, I am not going to die on this mountain.
Monday on the 700 Club.
Well, in just a few years, the world's eyes will turn to Brazil, as the nation will be hosting its 2016 Summer Olympics. Countries that host the Games look forward to the money and the tourists and, of course, the publicity. But there's a tragic side on these Olympics as well, the sexual exploitation of children. Our Heather Sells traveled to Brazil to bring you this story.
In recent years, growing numbers of tourists have flocked to northeastern Brazil. Here, they take advantage of the region's beautiful beaches, its colonial architecture, and tragically, its children.
It's very easy to buy a girl. It's like buying chocolate.
TBN News traveled to northeast Brazil for a closer look at the area's child sex trafficking epidemic. Youth counselor Carlos da Bomba describes it as out of control. Taxi drivers, hotel workers, and drug dealers form an underground network connecting supply and demand. And every week, Da Bomba's agency receives 5 to 6 new victims in need of help. After our interview, we walked to the beach across from our hotel, and Da Bomba noticed children for sale right in front of us. Our translator approached a young boy working as a transvestite. He agreed to tell us how the system works.
They come in the car. They ask how much it is. I tell them, and they say if they want me, and if they want me, they take me.
Leah uses the $25 to $50 per trick to buy clothes and food for himself and his mom. He told us he started at age 14. His life of pain was clear.
I don't like it. I hate it. I just do it because I need it.
Brazil may soon overtake Thailand as the #1 country in trafficked children. The United Nations estimates that more than 250,000 are sexually exploited here. Much of it happens in the Northeast region, where child sex tourists arrive from Europe and the U.S.
We see kids start at age 12, 13. It's a way for them to have an income, to receive money easily.
And as if the problem of child sex trafficking wasn't bad enough, the worst may be yet to come. Many here fear the World Cup games, to be held in the stadium being built behind me, will bring a flood of tourists eager not just for sports, but for children.
We are trying to find a way to avoid this.
Egivaldo Tavares works in child services in the metro area of Recife. His research suggests kids here are in danger.
What we see before and after the World Cup is trauma in the communities.
Most who work with youth here believe more tourism means more child exploitation. So public officials and nonprofits are teaming up to raise awareness and try to prevent a potential region-wide disaster.
The social workers are very concerned about it, so they are working in prevention now with educational materials in the city and also giving workshops in the schools.
Many in this region also recognize that a long-term strategy is essential to wipe out a tragedy that's deeply embedded in the culture. Poor children here typically grow up in small, crowded homes where they see sexuality that should be private and often face abuse themselves.
They start early to see sex in a distorted way, so it's easier to start in this kind of life.
Drug dealers also take advantage of kids addicted to crack and other illegal substances. It's also common for desperately poor parents to encourage their children to sell themselves.
The moms, sometimes they put their children in this situation because they need help.
In the case of Sophia, a 15-year-old we met, her parents simply looked the other way. Sophia says she stopped because she wants a better life.
I realized it's not good. You can get pregnant and be unable to go on with your studies and get a good job.
The U.S.-based ministry Compassion International is in the sex trafficking fight for the long haul. Compassion uses child sponsorships to fund ministry centers across the country.
We are not only providing a place for them to come to avoid the streets, but we are concerned about giving them an education in a holistic way so they can have a different opportunity than their parents.
Compassion partners with local churches to take care of children's physical needs, and it emphasizes academics, including a special curriculum that targets sexual abuse. Compassion's approach also emphasizes decision-making for a lifetime. It's a tough concept for so many children whose families desperately need help now. But prevention via one-child sponsorships may be the most effective strategy. In a recent survey, economists rated it #1 in the long-term fight against poverty.
I believe the best way to combat exploitation is the prevention we're doing in partnership with Compassion.
And for that reason, Tuares has become a regular at this project, building relationships with kids in the hopes of helping them to realize their dreams. For these children, it's not too late. And it may not be too late for Leah. After our interview, we prayed for him and for his dreams.
I would like to get married with someone I'm in love with and quit doing what I do.
Leah told us he'd like to become a nurse. A true miracle, perhaps, that one child in so much pain would dream of helping others. Reporting in Recife, Brazil, Heather Sells, CBN News.
It's heartbreaking, ladies and gentlemen. It happens all around the world. We have so many children. And if you've been to Brazil, you've been to some of these Asian countries where there's such poverty and heart-rending poverty. I don't think I will forget the child I met in an orphanage when I was in Thailand who escaped from being sold into sex slavery in Bangkok. And the word was for a refrigerator or a color television set that the parents would sell their daughter to these sex traffickers to be abused and, mistreated and filled with disease and who knows what else would go on. Their lives ruined, no hope. So, folks, we need to do something. Please, Regent University is doing something about sex trafficking. They have courses and a program about it.
We're actually starting a new campaign with them, Pat. Orphans Promise, CBN International, and Regent University. It's going to be called the Blue Flag Campaign. And Brazil is our first focus because of the World Cup Games, and that's followed in short order by the Olympics. So we're working with some people that are in positions of authority in Central and South America, and also moving forward. Regent's going to do a whole curriculum that will be available to people who want to be a part of this. We're hoping to reach the churches and get them on board and make a difference, not just in Brazil, but throughout the world. This has become a huge problem.
Well, it's heartbreaking, Terry, and the thing is, in Isaiah 58, which is the mandate for Operation Blessing, is that, you deliver those from captivity, you break the bonds of oppression and set the captives free. These people are slaves. Yes. They're captives, and they need to be freed. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's part of what you're doing, and we appreciate your help and prayers. Let's do what we can for these precious children. They're made in the image of God. We need to glorify that fact and not destroy it. Yeah. Terry?
Well, coming up, a television event thousands of years in the making. We're going to give you a sneak peek at the epic miniseries, The Bible. That's next.
I started feeling pain between my spine and my shoulder blade. there was a sizable mass consistent with malignant cancer. That's complex. That's tough stuff.
To find out more about our unique treatment options for complex and advanced stage cancer, go to cancercenter.com. You'll be able to see our treatment results for many types of cancers and how they compare to national averages. You can also check for participating insurance plans. Cancer Treatment Centers of America is different. It's state-of-the-art medicine, unique treatment options, and a level of compassion that cannot be copied. Why? Our people. People who give you not only their expertise, but their humanity and the most well-organized, patient-centered care you'll find anywhere.
My strength came back. I began to become myself again. I'm so happy that I went to CTCA.
Every minute counts when you're fighting complex or advanced stage cancer, so please call or visit cancercenter.com today. Appointments are available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
Connie and I love having cell phones because of the freedom they give us. So why would we want to be tied down to a contract?
Life's too short.
And Consumer Cellular gives us control over how and when we use them and what we pay.
And compared to our old plan, we're saving a ton of money every month.
So what really sold us on Consumer Cellular was that they're the exclusive wireless provider for AARP members.
AARP? That's a huge deal.
Was it complicated to switch? Not a bit. They make it super simple. You can even keep your number.
Oh, that's nice.
Consumer Cellular, affordable service without the contracts. Try Consumer Cellular risk-free for 30 days with free activation, a $35 value, and free shipping. Or just pick it up at a Sears store. Plans start as low as $10 a month.
Call Consumer Cellular at 1-800-393-4301. Go to consumercellulartv.com or visit a Sears store today.
Well, for nearly 10 years and 200 episodes, actress Roma Downey starred in the TV miniseries. It was a series. It wasn't a miniseries. It was called Touched by an Angel. Very, very popular. Well, interested in who knew, her husband, Mark Burnett, is a reality TV pioneer. His Emmy Award-winning producer behind Survivor, The Apprentice, The Voice, and Shark Tank, just to name a few. Man, he's good.
Yes, he is.
Well, on Sunday, these two extraordinarily talented people will come together to unveil what they're calling their most important project. It's the Bible. Take a look.
Remember me by doing this. I'm going to the Father, but I will always be with you.
Hollywood couple Mark Burnett and Roma Downey have joined forces with the History Channel to create an epic 10-hour miniseries called The Bible.
It's Jesus!
When you look at a project of this magnitude and this scope, how do you boil the Bible down into 10 hours? How do you do that?
It took us a couple of years, really, and we got the advice of many theologians and advisors and figured out that it should be a through-line narrative, God's love for all of us, Genesis through Revelation.
From the moment Adam and Eve fell from grace, we have been a people wanting to get back in connection with God. And that was one of the themes that we felt we really wanted to see through those Old Testament characters. We see each of them attempting connection and failing, attempting connection and failing. And so God so loved us that he sends Jesus for us. And our New Testament narrative begins with the birth of Jesus, who comes and brings us home. And so that was the connective love story that we wanted to tell. We only had 10 hours, so we had to condense the stories. It ended up really, it's more of an introduction to the Bible.
In tackling a production of this magnitude, great care was taken to make the finished product look and feel authentic.
We went to Ouarzazate, which is about 3 or 4 hours drive down over the Atlas Mountains out to the edge of the Sahara. And we chose this location because it allowed us to achieve these beautiful biblical landscapes.
There's no way to replace some of those epic Casbahs, which look like they belong, and probably do belong, 2,000 years ago.
Moses.
We want to make the Bible come to life with fresh visual imagery for this generation. So we gather to us just the best in the business. We have the best CGI, Oscar-winning team who created the special effects for Gladiator.
Portuguese actor Diogo Morgado plays the role of Jesus Christ. When you were approached about doing this role as a performer, as an actor, what went through your mind?
I think the first thought was, I can't do it. Honestly, it's like this is too much. You will all fall away. We're not just telling a story, you know? We're trying to touch people's hearts. We're telling a story that people live by. I grew up knowing the Bible. I grew up believing in Jesus Christ. So, with the fact that my own faith and my own beliefs getting involved is like, how can I do someone that I know so well? What should we do? Should we go to the thing that people know about, or just sharing your own experience, you know? So I think I try to do it both a little bit. It has begun.
In their years of successful work in Hollywood, Mark and Roma say this project is one of the most powerful productions they've ever worked with.
It's human, it's connective, it's beautiful, and then through the whole thing is this heartbeat of faith, this heartbeat of God's love. The project was made to glorify God.
Wow, that is so exciting.
Beautiful, isn't
they
it?
are so talented. Mark Burnett is extraordinarily talented, and so is Roma Downey. I mean, these are just two fabulous people.
And this looks like it's going to be an amazing miniseries.
Oh.
The Bible miniseries debuts this Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the History Channel. The 5-part, 10-hour series will run every Sunday throughout March, with the finale arriving on Easter, March the 31st. Roma Downey and Mark Burnett have released several books about the series. The first, A Story of God and All of Us, is a novel. And the second is a version of that novel for younger readers. And the third is this 100-day daily devotion based on the miniseries. And we also have a special section on our website. If you're interested, you should go take a look at. You can do that by going to cbn.com. And Pat, the hope of this is that it will drive people to go back to the Word. The Bible is an amazing story of, as Roma said so clearly, God reaching out and coming for us.
It touches the lives of everybody. So anyhow, our hats off to the History Channel. They have scored a triumph, and I hope that there's a huge audience for it.
Something not to be missed.
Yeah, Terry.
Well, still ahead, think that you know what it takes to be really great? Well, you might want to think again, or even better, stay tuned, because Pat shows how you can reach true greatness in a segment from The Secret Kingdom. That's later on today's 700 Club.
I finally got to the point where there wasn't enough cocaine and there wasn't enough alcohol.
Welcome to the 700 Club.
They started discussing between the two of them a need to pray for this guy.
Call on the name of the Lord.
Come on, God, give me the buzz. I was joking around. I was daring God. They finished praying. And Ben says, the guy we were praying for didn't get the buzz he was looking for. My heart stopped. He spoke to me that night and he said, when you're serious, scream out the name of Jesus and he'll save you. And I remember what Ben said, and I screamed out, Jesus, Jesus, help me, save me. The very second I did that. If you don't believe in miracles, then don't believe in me, because I am one. I felt the buzz.
Yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil.
Your God has abandoned you.
Oh, my friends, your faith will be tested now.
Everyone has their price.
What you think the Messiah is coming?
He's already here.
Welcome back to the 700 Club. Arkansas Governor Mike Beebe signed into law a bill protecting the rights of mothers who are forced to defend the lives of their unborn children. It's called the Pregnant Women's Protection Act. The measure passed both the State House and the Senate unanimously. The group Americans United for Life is behind the new legislation. A spokesperson says it was drafted in response to the growing problem of pregnancy-related violence against women. Studies show a pregnant woman is more likely to be a victim of homicide than to die of any other cause. Well, Operation Blessing surprised a Sandy victim and cancer survivor with an Extreme Blessing home makeover. Barbara lost everything when Hurricane Sandy hit her Breezy Point home. But with the help of 100 volunteers, Operation Blessing gave Barbara a big surprise. They rebuilt her home, complete with new drywall, floors, paint, appliances, and even furniture. In addition to homemakers like this one, Operation Blessing's Hurricane Sandy relief efforts have provided more than 12,000 hot meals, and coordinated over 1,500 volunteers to help with cleanup and debris removal. And you can find out more about Operation Blessing by going to their website at ob.org. Pat and Terry will be back with more of the 700 Club right after this.
I love you, son. So it hurts when you say you hate me.
I'm your mother, and I'm tired of you disrespecting me when you don't get your way.
I work hard to make sure you have everything you need. So I should be able to ask you to get out of bed in the morning without a fight.
So from now on, things are going to be different. I ordered the Total Transformation Program.
We are not going to scream and fight anymore.
You're not going to call me ugly names anymore. And if you do, you're going to get consequences that'll keep you from calling me ugly names.
We're not doing things your way anymore, son. We're going to do things the Total Transformation way.
I'm behavioral therapist Janet Lehman. The Total Transformation will help you stop the screaming, arguing, and disrespect in your home. I'm so sure of it, I'll give it to you for free. Just order the program and let us know how it works for you. We'll let you keep it for free.
Call this number now and find out how to get the Total Transformation free.
My patients still don't know what Obamacare means for them. And how could they? There are already 13,000 pages of regulations, and the bureaucrats are just getting started. Obamacare will change your health care, and you need to understand how. There are hidden taxes and fines, big cuts in Medicare, even new regulations on what services doctors can offer you. Some businesses could get hit with a 40% additional tax on your health care plan. Please, get the Obamacare Survival Guide today. It's the best book explaining the new law. It's easy to read, everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere.
Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
What makes someone truly great? Well, it may not be what you think. In fact, true greatness is counterintuitive, as Pat explains in this segment from The Secret Kingdom.
Greatness. What is greatness? There was a man in Russia who was the great king. He was called Peter the Great. He's the one that westernized Russia. Was he really great? There was a Macedonian general, one of the smartest generals they say has ever lived. His name was Alexander, and he was known as Alexander the Great. Yet he drank himself to death when he was maybe 31 or 2 years old. Was he great? We had a boxer named Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, who said, I float like a butterfly, I sting like a bee. I'm the greatest. Was Muhammad Ali, who now has Parkinson's disease, was he the greatest? Was he really, were these men really great? They like to think of themselves as great. Napoleon, the great. They weren't great. There's only one person who's ever really been great, and his name is Jesus. And he told us the secret of greatness. His disciples were arguing among themselves as to who was the greatest. You know, they were fighting. They say, what if you had a couple of kids squabbling about who was the best basketball player, whether it was LeBron James or Michael Jordan, and they were fighting each other over who was the greatest? Well, his disciples were fighting among who was the greatest. And he took a child and he set him in the midst and said, you see this little child? He that becomes like a little child, he'll be great in the kingdom. What is it about a little child that makes him great? I'll tell you, the thing about a child that is so interesting is that his ears are always open. He's always asking questions. He has an inquiring mind. Why is the grass green, Daddy? Why is the sun up, Daddy? What happened to the moon, Daddy? What about the stars, Daddy? Why do those dogs walk that way instead of the other way, Daddy? And they just keep asking. They say that a child between the age of 4 and 5 will learn more than an older child will learn during 4 years of college. Their minds are open to listen. And the other thing is about a child is they're trusting. A child has to rely on his mother and father to feed him, clothe him, house him. They just take it for granted that Mommy and Daddy are going to take care of me. You'd hate to have a child always worried about whether he's going to get the next meal. Now, there's some in the third world that are that way, but certainly here in America, in the average family, children rely on their parents. Certainly a little baby does. A baby doesn't sit around having discussions with his fellows. You reckon our folks are going to feed us today? I mean, he just yells and he gets a bottle. You know how it is. They expect it because they're trusting. And that's what God says, I want. Those who are trusting in me, who will rely on me as the source of their blessing. Now, Jesus also expanded on this concept of greatness. He said, the kings of this earth exalt themselves, and men call them benefactors. They exalt themselves for greatness. But he said, it's not supposed to be that way with you. He that is the least among you, let him be the greatest of all. He that is the slave of others. He said, I am the Son of God, yet I'm with you as one that serves. And you recall those days before he's crucified, when they were in the upper room, and he took a basin and he knelt down and he began to wash the feet of his disciples. And he says, if I'm your master and Lord, you see what I'm doing, you should wash the feet of your other disciples. I am taking the role of a slave. He that is the greatest is the bondslave of all. Now, that sounds kind of crazy. Most people don't want to be servants. They don't want to be servants. Who wants to be in the role of a servant? You know, a lot of folks, certainly 100 years ago, our African-American friends were pretty much consigned to menial tasks in the kitchen and so forth. They don't want that, and I don't blame them. They want to get educated. They want to sit in the executive suite. They want to be CEOs and leaders and generals, and they are. But when are you really great? You're great when you are a servant. Now, you and I don't want to be servants, do we? Well, think of the greatest inventor. Who would you say is the greatest inventor? Well, you'd say Thomas Edison probably is the greatest inventor. Why is he great? He's great because he served the most people. You'd think about Henry Ford. He was a great industrialist. He had his flaws, but he was a great industrialist. Why? Because he served people with cheap transportation. And the more people he served, the greater he was. So also public servants who honestly feel that their job it is to serve the public. If we want to be great, and I tell you, if the church wants to show itself strong in a sinful world, the best way we can do it is to serve the poor and the needy. If we go out and take the role of a servant and we serve others. Now, business schools, you know, are teaching that, what they call servant leadership. That is one of the problems with American automobile manufacturers is the guys in the front office, the big shots, wouldn't listen to the workers. They knew it all. I mean, they were the pros. They were the experts. Don't tell me how to run an automobile company. I've been here for 30 years. Well, it was tragic, wasn't it? General Motors went bankrupt, and we've lost our place among the nations and among the industrial titans of the world because our leaders wouldn't listen. They wouldn't listen. They were too proud. And along with this comes humility, because a child is humble. A little child is humble. And the Lord said, except you humble yourself and become like a little child, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. There's something about being humble and listening to somebody else. Teach me. The really smart people, the ones who really are the leaders in industry, are the ones who are always learning and always saying, teach me. Are there any new techniques? Tell me, how do you do it? How do they do it? Tell me the new way. How does it go? And the ones who are ossified and say, oh, no, we've always done it this way, they'll be extinct. But God is saying to us, if you want to be a leader, serve. And if you want to be the greatest, you be the bondslave of all. And you look back to Jesus. What did he do? He gave his life for everyone. He is the greatest who ever lived because he served more people. He served the generations yet to be born. He served his contemporaries. He served everybody. His death won a place to heaven for all of us. That's why he is the greatest. Not some general, not some king, not some prize fighter, but Jesus Christ. And he told us how we can reach greatness, and there's no other way than to have a servant's heart.
I love this series. It is rich with wisdom from the Bible. We've been playing Secret Kingdom teachings all week, and the response has been tremendous. Here's what one viewer, Kathy, had to say. I saw Pat talk about the law of unity from the Secret Kingdom. I want to thank you so much because I'm struggling with disunity at my workplace. I was planning on talking with my managers, but I really didn't know how to go about it. God brought you and your program on at the right time. Now I know what to do and what to talk about. I'm so grateful. You've put peace in my heart. Well, we want all of you to know that you can always go to our website for more teachings from the Secret Kingdom. Just log on to cbn.com, go to the I Saw It on the 700 Club box, and then click the link and you'll find it all there. Well, coming up, Pat's going to answer your questions about the Secret Kingdom and the law of greatness. Alexis says, how can a true servant really lead? There may come a time when two people have two very different opinions about how to approach a topic. How can a leader serve both? Well, find out. Stay tuned for a Secret Kingdom edition of Bring It On. That's coming up next.
Don't walk.
Run!
To the #1 family comedy in America.
It's this way! Actually, it's this way!
It's funny.
Hello, my dear.
And heartwarming.
You're all covered in slime.
You're all dried out.
Escape from Planet Earth. Rated PG.
When you care, souls are set free. When you give, lives are made new. When you share, eternal life begins. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Monday.
You just cannot survive for long up there.
Running out of oxygen.
I just take these deep breaths of this thin air. Just nothing coming in.
And going blind.
It's just burning. My eyes are burning. I can't see anything if I look out. It's just bright white.
One climber is stranded alone on the highest mountain in the world.
I yelled out, I'm like, I am not going to die on this mountain.
Monday on the 700 Club.
Trust me. All right.
Well, we'd love to interact with you, and we want to take some time to answer some of the questions that you've submitted to us. And Pat, this first one comes from Alexis, who says, Pat, I agree with you about the law of greatness. I think humility and having a servant's heart are qualities that are sorely lacking in today's age, especially in Washington. But how can a true servant really lead? There may come a time when two people have two very different opinions about how to approach a topic. How can a leader serve both when he's expected to make an either-or decision?
Well, the whole thought is you approach it that you are a servant. Your job is to serve and make a better situation for your company, for your state, for your nation, and that's your heart. And people might disagree with you, but Jesus Christ was a leader, and he spoke what's to be done, and he obviously was there. He loved the people, and as a leader, you love the people, and if somebody disagrees with you, you hear their point of view. You listen respectfully to what they have to say, and you listen to both sides, and they know that you have to make a decision, and they need to respect your decision if you are a leader. And the decision you make is you say, I hope you all agree, but I do believe this is the best course. We've listened to all the arguments, and we have to make a decision. Yeah. But you do it humbly. You don't just say, look, I'm the boss. You do what I say whether you like it or not. I mean, it's your attitude. I love you. I want to do what's best, and here's what I think's right, and then everybody needs to fall in line. But that's leadership. It's love, all right?
Okay, this is from Tommy. Tommy says, I really want to make a difference in the world and do big things for Christ. I believe that I need to have a servant's heart in order to do that, but I feel as if my emotions are in flux. I truly do want to serve, but at the same time, I realize that my motivation for serving is tied into my desires for greatness. How do I reconcile these feelings?
Don't spend so much time in introspection. It'll drive you nuts. I mean, really. I mean, just get out there and help somebody. Yeah. You know, don't say, what's my motivation to this? I mean, these people are poor. They need food. Let's get some food to them. Period. You know, this business about, you know, I'm looking at my pulse and I'm feeling, you know, what is my motive? Forget all that. You focus on the need. How can I meet the need? What can I do to serve these people? Period.
Yeah, there's some wonderful scriptures for that, too, where you're asking God to help you. You know, create in me a pure heart. And God does that in us, for us, when our motives are to please and serve
You can do
Him.
that. But again, Terry, this introspection, you know, you can spend all your time, well, are my motives right? Am I doing this for the right motive? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, come on. You know, who cares about right now what your motive is? The motive he's got to do is, let's get the job done. Here are people who are suffering. Let's help them. Okay.
Okay, this is Sharon, who says, I just started watching your show and I love it. I've had a rough life. I lost one of my sons when he was just 19 years old. Just 4 months later, my husband of 22 years passed away. Jesus has been my rock through this, and He is my highest priority in my life. I have a beautiful statue of Jesus carrying His cross. I keep it in front of me above my TV in full sight. A viewer wrote and asked you about man-made idols. You said we're never to worship graven images or man-made idols of any kind. I agree, but since then I've been deeply troubled about my statue. I don't bow down or worship it, but it brings me such strength now that I'm a widow and alone. Is this considered an idol?
Well, it depends on what you've done in your life. I mean, if this is an example, I mean, we've got a picture, I think, on the other side of the studio of Jesus. You know, I mean, but
well, there are many sculptures that have been done by wonderful artists over the years.
You go into St. Peter's, and there are people who are rubbing the feet of some statue of a saint thinking it's going to bring them blessing. That's idolatry. On the other hand, you say, I want to follow the example of this one who carried his cross to Calvary for me, and I want to be. He did it for me, and I love him because of it. That's not idolatry. That's an example, and it's not. It could be written in a text. It's presented in a piece of sculpture. I don't consider that idolatry.
Okay, this is David, who says, we're giving approximately 18% of our income, but it's divided among several ministries. We're giving to our local church, but only about 8 to 9%. Is it necessary to up the local church to 10% to consider that we are tithers? We're not currently contributing 10% to any one organization. Or am I overthinking this?
Yes, you're overthinking it. You know, God is not a Philadelphia lawyer. He is not a big six accountant. I mean, come on. You know, we diminish the Creator. He is a great God, and He says, you know, I love you, and out of that which I've given, you give back. And the tenth is only one. There were 3 tithes if you look in the Old Testament. So, you know, the standard is 30%. The government will let you give 50%. It just depends. I mean, tithes and offerings out of your inner being. But it doesn't have to be to a, quote, church. You know, I know there's something that tithe belongs to the church. No, it doesn't. It belongs to God. Yeah. And if it's a ministry of helps, the humanitarian and something else, you're giving to God. And that's what He's concerned about. It's what's in your heart. Deep calls to deep. And I think we've got to get out of this, you know.
Well, there's something in us that so wants to please that we want a formula that we can
I know,
follow.
But He doesn't want us to have formulas.
I know, I agree.
He doesn't want us. He wants us to be free. Freedom.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, this is Rachel, who says, why does God heal some and not others? Does the phrase no respecter of persons apply here? How can we have complete faith that God will do something when in actuality we really can't say for certain what He'll do?
You know, Catherine Kuhlman had a great ministry of healing, and she said when she gets to heaven, she's going to ask God that question, so she'll get an answer. Why do some people get healed, some don't? What's in their heart? You know, there isn't. They talk about holy invalids, but you don't know what's going on in their heart. Is there resentment way down deep inside? Is there lack of faith deep inside? Is their time hasn't quite come? You don't know. God, in His infinite wisdom, knows all these things, and He hasn't revealed them all to us. When Jesus was here on earth, He knew if something was demons. He knew if something was sin. He knew if something was just disease. And He was able to deal with all those problems, and then everybody got healed. There was no person who came to Jesus who wasn't healed. So they know, and we don't know. We see through a glass darkly. But
even God's bigger plan. You know, I think of the story of Jim Elliot. You know, sometimes we see death differently than God does, and that created such a broad spreading of the gospel.
Absolutely. What was to us was a tragedy was a glorious affirmation of faith. You're right.
I think Jim Elliot knew that too.
Yeah, but his wasn't. He wasn't sick and healing. But I mean, he was. You know, he got killed. But is that bad? Not really. He's with the Lord. Well, hey, it's Friday. I hope you all have a great weekend.
That's
I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Ride that horse.
I'm going to ride that horse in about an hour or two. Well, that's all we've got on Monday. The incredible survival story of a climber who went blind on Mount Everest, lost his oxygen, and lived to tell the tale. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you then.
Monday.
You just cannot survive for long up there.
Running out of oxygen.
I just take these deep breaths of this thin air. Just nothing coming in.
And going blind.
It's just burning. My eyes are burning. I can't see anything. If I look out, it's just bright white.
One climber is stranded alone on the highest mountain in the world.
I yelled out, I'm like, I am not going to die on this mountain.
Monday on the 700 Club.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. 8 years ago, my husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.